Makola Market buzzed with its usual energy under the hot mid-morning sun in Accra. Vendors shouted their prices and waved their goods, while the mingling scents of sizzling plantains and dried fish crowded the air. In the midst of this frenzy walked Alma, a young woman with ebony skin that glistened in the light, her wide, curious eyes darting from stall to stall in search of something special, something that would save her faltering career as a beauty influencer. She stopped at a table filled with mirrors, small pocket mirrors, hand mirrors with ornate frames, and even antique mirrors that looked centuries old. Alma had never seen such a variety in one place. She paused, running her finger along the edge of a mirror framed in tarnished gold. Suddenly, a voice hissed from behind, "Are you searching for beauty, or is beauty searching for you?" Startled, Alma spun around. An elderly vendor, draped in vibrant waxprint cloth, smiled at her. The vendor's teeth, surprisingly white, contrasted sharply with her weathered face. She held out a tiny pouch made of dark green silk. "I have something," the vendor whispered, leaning in so close that Alma caught the scent of palm oil on her breath. "It's an herbal powder. Very rare. Very special. Only for the chosen." Alma felt a chill race down her spine. It might have been the vendor's voice, soft yet insistent, or the way the surrounding noise of the market seemed to dull around them. She glanced at the vendor's table and saw no sign of herbal powders, just more mirrors and little figurines carved from wood and bone. "What do you mean, chosen?" Alma asked. She tried to sound casual, but her voice betrayed her unease. The vendor chuckled. "Those who seek true transformation. Those who are willing to go beyond the mirror. This is organic, yes, but it carries a deeper power. A power that your spirit might be able to handle, or might not." Alma's heart pounded. She'd come to the market for a new beauty solution, something to help revitalize her social media presence. She never expected to feel so drawn to an old stranger's mysterious product. Perhaps it was desperation that made her nod, or perhaps curiosity. "How much?" she asked, bracing herself for an outrageous figure. But the vendor only smiled wider. 100 cedis, and a promise that you'll follow the instructions exactly." The price was steep, yet not outrageous, but the odd condition made Alma hesitate. Her phone buzzed in her bag, likely another notification reminding her she was rapidly losing followers. She needed something, anything, to stand out. "Deal," she murmured, handing over the money. The vendor placed the silk pouch in Alma's hand and murmured, "Only for the chosen." The bag felt strangely warm, as if alive. As Alma walked away, a sudden hush fell upon the mirror stall behind her. She glanced back one last time, only to see the vendor staring at her with an expression halfway between awe and pity. That was the moment Alma's journey began, though she couldn't have imagined the horrors ahead. Alma's small studio apartment was both her personal sanctuary and makeshift filming set. Ring lights, a tripod, and a neatly arranged row of makeup products cluttered one corner. Despite her best efforts, each live stream felt less inspired. Her follower count, which had once steadily climbed to a respectable 75,000, was now stagnant. She sat at her desk, scrolling through her latest posts. "Only 100 likes," she muttered under her breath. "What am I doing wrong?" A loud ping announced a message from her manager, Kweku. His tone was blunt. "Kweku, Manager Alma, we need something new. Your brand is dying. Influencer markets are saturated. Find a new angle, or fade out." Alma's heart sank. She remembered how Kweku used to praise her for her authenticity and gorgeous skin. Now, his texts sounded like impatient demands. Her phone buzzed again, a call this time. "Hello?" Alma answered, forcing cheer. "Alma," Kweku began, not even bothering with a greeting, "there are dozens of girls just like you out there, each with their own little niche. If you want to stay relevant, you need something big. What do you suggest? Start a diet challenge, a new skincare routine, maybe. But it has to be unique. Something no one else is doing." Alma swallowed, the memory of the strange herbal powder fresh in her mind. I might have something, she said cautiously. An organic supplement from a market vendor. That's perfect. Run with it, Kweku replied, exhaling in relief. Whatever it is, push it. Make it your brand. The 30-day organic glow challenge or something catchy like that. After the call ended, Alma sank into her chair, head in her hands. She felt the weight of 1,000 other influencers breathing down her neck. Her brand was built on authenticity, on Ghanaian beauty traditions, but maybe this herbal powder was her ticket back to the top. She took the silk pouch from her bag, loosening its drawstring. A faint, earthy aroma drifted up, reminding her of damp soil after a heavy rain. It smelled oddly comforting. She had no idea what she was getting into, but she was out of options. Alma opened her filming app and, with a brave smile, started recording. Hey everyone, it's Alma here. I'm introducing something brand new, my 30-day organic glow challenge. In that moment, she felt a glimmer of hope. She had no clue that this new angle would lead her into the darkest labyrinth of her life. On day 1 of Alma's Organic Glow Challenge, she meticulously documented each step. She measured a small spoonful of the herb, mixed it with warm water, and drank it on camera. The taste was bitter, like raw ginger laced with pepper. She forced a smile for her viewers. At first, nothing dramatic happened. By day 3, though, her complexion seemed brighter. A few of her stubborn pimples had vanished, and she felt a surge of energy during her morning jog. Her appetite decreased, yet she wasn't starving. By the time she filmed day 5, she noticed her waist looked more defined on camera. Her followers were quick to notice. Her comment section flooded with remarks. At BeautyFan123, Alma, you're glowing. What's your secret? At Ghanaian Trends, I'm ordering that herb ASAP. At Skeptic101, is this safe? Looks too good to be true. A small smile curled on Alma's lips as she read the surge of engagement. Finally, she wasn't just another face on the feed. She felt unstoppable. Each morning, she'd shake a little powder into water, gulp it down, and go about her day. By day 7, her transformation was undeniable. Her dark spots had faded. Her skin took on a radiant sheen, almost too perfect to be real. Kweku called and practically screamed with excitement over the phone. Alma, your follower count just hit 80,000. We have new brands reaching out. Keep this up. She hung up, heart pounding with adrenaline. If she could replicate these results for her audience, she'd skyrocket to fame. But privately, a creeping worry emerged. She'd missed her dose one morning because she overslept, and by afternoon, she felt nauseous with a pounding headache. A black, viscous bile came out of her when she tried to eat. It was just once, she told herself. Probably just stress. And yet, the next morning, she didn't dare skip the dose. That same night, Alma lay in bed, her phone screen illuminating her face as she scrolled through congratulatory messages. Sleep tugged at her eyelids, so she switched off the lamp and let the darkness envelop her. Then came the whisper. Subtle at first, like a breeze rustling curtains. She opened her eyes, adjusting to the faint moonlight. Had she heard something? Alma, a voice seemed to hiss in her ear. Her heart thumped. She glanced at her door, locked. Her windows, shut. But the whisper continued, like several voices layered atop one another. We see you. We chose you. Alma sat up and fumbled for her phone to turn on the flashlight. Every corner of her room remained ordinary, clothes strewn on a chair, a half-empty glass of water on the table. No sign of any intruder. Trembling, she lay back down, trying to calm her breathing. She told herself it was a dream, stress from her sudden rise to attention. But the voice persisted, drifting into her half-awake, half-asleep mind. You can't stop now. We need you. She squeezed her eyes shut, praying for silence. By dawn, she woke, drenched in sweat. The echoes of the whisper clung to her mind like cobwebs. She crawled to the kitchen, desperate for a dose of the herbal powder. The moment the bitter liquid touched her lips, she felt a wave of relief wash over her, like an addict taking their fix. Her headache eased, and the trembling in her hands calmed. Yet an unspoken dread blossomed in her chest. Something told her that the powder was far from ordinary, and whatever had whispered to her in the night was just beginning to make itself known. Sunlight poured over Makola Market when Alma returned to buy more produce. She wore oversized sunglasses, hoping not to be recognized by fans. Yet the hustle and bustle of the market didn't stop heads from turning. Her transformation was striking, and her newly radiant skin drew attention like a magnet. She passed a fruit stall where an old woman sat behind piles of fresh mangoes and pineapples. The woman's gaze locked onto Alma, eyes narrowing with grim understanding. Alma tried to ignore her, but the woman raised a hand in a halting gesture. "You there, come," the fruit seller called. Her voice cut through the market noise like a razor. At first, Alma hesitated. Something about the woman's intense stare made her uneasy. But curiosity won out, and she approached cautiously. "You've been chosen," the woman muttered, her gnarled hands expertly slicing a pineapple. The yellow flesh glistened in the daylight. "That herb, it's not what you think." Alma tried to mask her growing alarm. "Excuse me? I've seen it before. Generations ago, there was a name, the Mark of Na. Once you start, you can't go back. You have to finish, or it'll finish you." A cold chill spread across Alma's body. But everyone said it was organic. Healthy. The fruit seller's lips curled into a humorless smile. "You think curses care about organic? If you continue, you'll become something else. I can see it in your aura, bright like lightning, but flickering with shadows." Alma's mind raced. She remembered the black bile, the whispers at night, how her body reacted violently when she skipped her dose. She swallowed hard. "How do I stop it?" she asked, voice trembling. The old woman placed a mango in Alma's hand. "Stop before the Mark of Na appears. If you see it, you must break the chain or be devoured." Her cryptic words swirled through Alma's mind. The woman's dark eyes locked onto hers one last time. "You've been warned," she said quietly, turning back to her fruit as if the conversation had never happened. Back home, Alma flopped onto her bed, exhausted from the heat and the unsettling exchange with the fruit seller. She switched her phone camera to selfie mode, wanting to check for any physical changes beyond her glow. She wasn't prepared for what she saw. For a brief instant, her reflection on the screen distorted. Her eyes seemed elongated, almost reptilian. Her mouth stretched into an unnaturally wide grin, the corners reaching toward her ears. She gasped, dropping her phone in alarm. When she snatched it back up, the reflection had returned to normal, her usual gorgeous, if somewhat startled, face. She convinced herself it was a glitch. But the changes kept coming. Her skin grew even smoother, downright luminous. Brands from the US, Europe, and across Africa began emailing her collaboration offers, brand ambassadorships. She was suddenly the Ghanaian goddess her followers claimed. One evening, she changed into a fitting black dress to film an update. As she flipped on her ring light, she caught sight of her shadow on the wall. It seemed to be moving on its own, undulating like a creature with too many limbs. Alma froze, heart hammering in her chest. The moment she turned to look directly at the wall, the shadow stilled, matching her form. She tried to tell herself it was just a trick of the light. Stress from her sudden fame. Or maybe her eyes were playing tricks. Yet no matter how she rationalized it, deep down, she knew something was very wrong. Kweku's text chimed in again, praising her for her skyrocketing engagement. He even suggested she produce a limited edition line of herbal supplements under her name. Alma read the text with trembling fingers. Her brand was about to explode. But at what cost? The next day, Alma couldn't shake her anxiety. She decided to go back to Makola Market and confront the vendor who'd sold her the herbal powder. She needed answers, desperate, life-saving answers. Upon arriving, the sun beat down mercilessly and sweat beaded along her forehead. She searched row after row of stalls, scanning the faces of vendors for the older woman who had sold her the powder. But there was no sign of her table of mirrors. It was as if she'd vanished into thin air. Growing frantic, Alma asked around, describing the vendor. Nobody claimed to have seen such a person that day. Disheartened, she turned to leave when she noticed a narrow alley she'd never seen before. The shadows within seemed to beckon. She slipped into the alley, the market noise fading behind her. It led to a small courtyard cluttered with debris, broken pots, torn cloth, and unsettlingly, bleached bones of animals she couldn't identify. At the far end, she spotted a half-collapsed doorway. Pushing aside cobwebs, she stepped into a dim chamber. Flickering candlelight revealed murals on the walls, paintings of women, each with terrified expressions, their bodies twisted in unnatural shapes. Above them loomed a symbol, a spiral with lines radiating outward, reminiscent of a stylized sun or perhaps an eye. Alma's breath caught. She recognized one of the women in a mural. The resemblance was uncanny to someone from her childhood, a distant aunt rumored to have died young. Could it be? Her footsteps echoed in the chamber, and she realized there were bones scattered across the floor, human bones. She backed away, horrified. That was when she noticed a single phrase scrawled across the wall in a language she partly recognized from her grandmother's stories. It chose them. It consumed them. Her stomach churned, and a wave of dizziness struck. She stumbled out, gasping for fresh air. The vendor's disappearance, the women on the walls, the presence of human remains, each revealed another piece of the puzzle. She exited the alley, trembling from head to toe. The day's bright sun struck her eyes, making her squint. She had gone to find answers, but only discovered more terror. Despite her mounting fear, Alma's online star continued to rise. A viral post comparing her before and after photos flooded Instagram and Twitter. Her follower count leaped from 80,000 to 200,000 in a matter of days, then crept toward 500,000. The next morning, she woke to see she had crossed 1 million followers. Her phone buzzed incessantly, journalists requesting interviews, TV programs inviting her to morning shows, brands begging for collaboration. She was the new global beauty icon, hailed as the Ghanaian goddess with miraculous results. Yet, every time she looked at her uploaded photos, something about them seemed off. Her hips looked elongated in one snapshot, her eyes too large in another. Some fans even commented, "Is there a glitch? Your body looks warped in this pic." To counter the suspicion, Alma filmed live videos as proof. On camera, she appeared flawless. But whenever she watched the replays later, she noticed subtle warping at the edges, her silhouette shifting in ways a camera filter couldn't explain. Still, the brand deals kept pouring in, and Kweku arranged a massive sponsor event. Alma arrived wearing a flowing white gown that accentuated her toned arms and slim waist. The cameras loved her, but behind each camera lens, she sensed a presence, as though something watched her with hungry eyes. Later that night, as she signed autographs at the venue, she noticed shadows flickering around her feet. The same slithering movement she'd seen at home. She swallowed her terror, forcing a radiant smile for the cameras. There was too much at stake, too many eyes on her. She couldn't fall apart now. The applause thundered, the sponsorship deals soared, but the darkness inside her grew heavier, coiling around her soul like a serpent. Late that night, Alma returned to her apartment, exhausted and restless. She had barely sat down on her couch when a knock resounded at her door. Confused, she glanced at the clock, nearly midnight. Cautiously, she opened the door to find an older woman with worried eyes and graying hair. Alma recognized her immediately, Aunt Adwoa, her mother's half-sister who lived in a small village along the coast. Alma had seen her only a handful of times in her life. "Auntie?" Alma asked, stunned. What are you doing here? Adwoa stepped in without waiting for an invitation, scanning Alma's face. I heard rumors. I saw your photos, and I knew I had to come. Alma closed the door, uneasy about the frantic look on her aunt's face. What rumors? That you're using a certain herb. Adwoa's voice trembled slightly. The same one that killed your mother. Alma froze. Her mother had died when Alma was just a baby, and the details were always vague: an illness, some said, or perhaps postpartum complications. No one ever offered her a clear explanation. Adwoa sank onto the couch, tears welling in her eyes. Your mother was beautiful, like you. She was lured by the promise of eternal youth. It's part of an ancient curse, passed down through the women in our family. But it usually skips generations. You were supposed to be safe. Alma's eyes widened. How do you know all this? Adwoa closed her eyes, as if recalling a buried memory. Because I was there the night she died. She screamed for hours, and no doctor could explain it. Her skin began to crack. She spoke in voices that weren't hers. Alma's throat went dry. Everything the fruit seller had said, everything she'd experienced, the black bile, the shadow movements, clicked into place like puzzle pieces, forming a horrifying picture. But you can help me, right? Alma asked, voice breaking. Adwoa gently took Alma's hand. I'll do everything I can, child. But you have to understand, this is not just a health issue. It's spiritual. An ancestral link to something far darker. Alma's knees felt weak. She slumped next to her aunt, tears brimming in her own eyes. Then we have to stop it, she whispered, clinging to a shred of hope. Her aunt's expression turned grim. We can try. But be warned, once the mark of Na appears, the choice becomes life or death. The next morning, Alma felt a burning sensation between her shoulder blades. It was sharp, as if someone had pressed hot coals against her skin. She rushed to the mirror in her bedroom, turning her back to see if there was any rash or bruise. She gasped. A spiraled, golden tattoo gleamed on her back, visible even without direct light. The spiral design was eerily similar to the symbol she'd seen painted on the walls of the chamber in the market alley. She reached back to touch it, but her fingers met only smooth skin. It was as if the mark hovered just beneath the surface. Panic coursed through her veins. Auntie, she called out. Adwoa hurried in, eyes widening at the sight of the mark. It's starting, she said, voice trembling. We have to do something before it consumes you. Throughout the day, Alma wore a loose t-shirt to hide the mark. But the heat radiating from it grew more intense, and she noticed strands of her hair littering the floor wherever she went. By midday, she grabbed a handful of her once lustrous hair, and a clump came away in her hand. She tried to steady her trembling heart. Her phone kept buzzing with partnership offers and congratulatory messages. She was supposed to do a sponsored live stream later that night. How could she possibly show her face on camera while she felt her body was unraveling? Her reflection in the bathroom mirror revealed her scalp in patches now. Tears welled in her eyes. She splashed cold water on her face, only to feel an odd pulsing beneath the skin of her neck, like something alive wiggling under her flesh. Desperate, she ran to show Aunt Adwoa, who clutched her chest in horror. We must find help from someone who understands these curses, her aunt said, determination flaring in her eyes. A spiritualist, or a traditional healer, someone who knows the old ways. Alma nodded, clinging to hope. But the golden spiral on her back continued to burn, a silent harbinger of the darkness creeping through her veins. Before resorting to spiritual remedies, Alma tried a medical approach. She and Adwoa visited a private clinic in Accra, hoping a top-tier specialist might diagnose and treat her rapidly declining health. A tall, stoic doctor greeted them in an immaculate white coat. After blood tests, DNA swabs, and a full physical exam, he stepped back with a deep frown. This is unusual, he said, removing his glasses. Your vitals are somewhat stable, but your blood sample produced impossible results. Alma's heart thumped. Impossible how? There's no matching blood type in our database. The lab machine flagged your DNA as non-human. It must be a mistake, so I ran it again on different equipment. Same result. Adwoa shot Alma a knowing look, as if this confirmed the supernatural origin of her condition. The doctor leaned forward, voice grave. These results suggest some kind of mutation, unlike anything I've ever seen. I'm not comfortable keeping these records, so I'm destroying them. This, he hesitated, scanning the hallway as if paranoid. This is beyond science. There are people who might exploit this information, or worse. With shaking hands, he ripped the printed results and dumped them into a shredder. Then he pulled off his gloves and turned to the women. Leave. Now. There's no treatment here for you. If anyone asks, I never met you. Alma felt cold dread envelop her. Even modern medicine wanted nothing to do with her condition. She thanked the doctor with a trembling voice, though she could see the terror in his eyes. Back outside, the midday sun felt unforgiving, a spotlight on her secret. As they headed to the car, Alma noticed two men in black suits watching them from across the street. Their gaze lingered, penetrating and unnerving, as though they knew something, perhaps everything, about her. She hurried into the car with her aunt, her heart pounding like a drum. Auntie, she whispered, it feels like the whole world is closing in. Adwoa nodded, staring onto the busy street. We have no choice now. We must confront the spiritual cause head-on. True to her word, Adwoa brought Alma to a tiny house on the outskirts of Accra. A spiritualist named Esi lived there, reputed to have broken many curses over the years. The walls were decorated with hanging charms, dried herbs, and intricate symbols that gave the space a sense of ancient wisdom. Esi welcomed them into a room thick with incense. I've heard whispers about you, she said in a hushed tone. You carry something that shouldn't be awakened. Alma felt a lump form in her throat. She was ready to do whatever it took to rid herself of this parasite, this curse. Esi guided her to a mat on the floor. Adwoa sat against the wall, nervously clutching her hands. Esi began chanting in an old dialect that Alma couldn't understand. She placed a mixture of potent-smelling herbs around Alma in a circular pattern, then lit them. Smoke curled upward, forming shapes that seemed to dance and writhe. As the chanting intensified, Alma felt a tingling in her arms. Her vision blurred, and she heard voices echoing inside her head, some chanting with Esi, others screaming in opposition. Suddenly, the herbal smoke turned black. It coalesced into a dark funnel that swirled around Alma's body. Pain seared through her back, exactly where the golden spiral was. She let out a gut-wrenching scream, her body levitating inches off the mat. Esi's voice became frantic as she tried to maintain control of the ritual. Out, foul spirit! Leave this vessel! Alma's screams intensified. The black smoke lashed out like a living creature. In a flash, candles toppled over, igniting the dried herbs near the walls. Flames spread rapidly, devouring everything in their path. Adwoa scrambled to her feet, grabbing a bucket of water to douse the fire, but it was futile. Smoke choked the small house. Esi's voice faltered, then she looked at Alma with wide, terrified eyes. You were never supposed to awaken it, she whispered. Moments later, part of the ceiling collapsed, sparks of fire raining down. Adwoa grabbed Alma, pulling her outside just as the entire structure succumbed to the blaze. They barely escaped with their lives. Coughing from the smoke, tears streaming, Alma looked back at the engulfed house where Esi lay trapped inside. She heard the spiritualist's final words echo in her mind, you were never supposed to awaken it. In the aftermath of the failed ritual, Alma's social media presence exploded even more. Ironically, while she felt her sanity unravel, the world seemed more entranced by her. Through the grapevine of marketing agencies, a major global skincare brand, BORRAH Cosmetics, offered her a multi-million-dollar contract. The contract arrived via a sleekly dressed representative. He extended a glossy folder, smiling as if this were the opportunity of a lifetime. "We're prepared to make you the face of BORRAH Cosmetics across the entire African continent and potentially beyond," he announced. Alma glanced at Adwoa, who looked uneasy. They both stood in Alma's living room, the tension thick enough to taste. In a crisp business tone, the representative added, "We'll need you to provide the secret ingredient you've been promoting. The herbal powder, correct? We'd like to conduct tests and potentially incorporate it into a new product line." A cold sweat broke out along Alma's hairline. She remembered the black bile, the shifting shadows, the horrifying transformation. Yet, the brand's offer was too tempting, too massive to ignore. "Can I have some time to think about it?" Alma managed to say, her voice trembling slightly. "Of course," the representative said. "But please be aware we're also in talks with other potential influencers. This is a limited-time offer." He placed his business card on the table, nodded politely at Adwoa, then left. After he was gone, Adwoa shook her head. "Alma, you must not give that herb to anyone else. It's a curse, not a beauty secret." Alma sank into the couch, the weight of indecision crushing her. On one hand, this deal could secure her future. On the other, it would spread a malevolent substance to unsuspecting people. Tears stung her eyes. "I just don't know anymore, Auntie," she whispered. "This is all spiraling out of control." She didn't realize just how literal that sentiment was, nor how soon the brand would push harder to claim the cursed organic powder. Life spiraled further when Alma decided to do a casual livestream one evening to address her growing fanbase. Thousands of people tuned in, flooding the comments with questions about her secret herb, her rumored brand deal, and her astonishing transformation. Alma smiled for the camera, wearing a stylish head wrap to conceal her thinning hair. She tried to respond to comments, but halfway through a sentence, she froze, eyes going unfocused. Her posture straightened, as if an invisible string yanked her upright. A low, otherworldly murmur escaped her lips. Then, in rapid succession, she started speaking in an ancient dialect, harsh syllables that no one recognized. The live chat exploded. At WTF moments, "Is this witchcraft?" At Horror Fanatic, her voice changed. "I'm getting chills." At Concerned User, "Someone check on her, she's not okay." For nearly 10 minutes, Alma streamed a series of bizarre reels in which she chanted incantations, laughed maniacally, and spoke words that sounded like curses. Her eyes remained wide, pupils dilated, as though she were possessed. When she finally regained consciousness, she stared at the camera in horror. Thousands of viewers were still watching, many in shock. Her phone vibrated relentlessly with incoming calls. She ended the stream abruptly. In the aftermath, her Instagram and Twitter DMs were a storm of confusion, fear, and hateful accusations. Some fans labeled her demonic, while others insisted it was just a publicity stunt. Adwoa rushed into the room, having witnessed the horrifying scene from the adjacent kitchen. "Alma, what was that?" Alma felt tears of shame and terror course down her cheeks. I don't know, Auntie. I couldn't control it." She glanced at her phone, heart pounding. Her brand was on the brink of collapse, or maybe it was about to skyrocket, given how people crave controversy. She couldn't tell which outcome scared her more. In the days that followed, Alma's body demanded more and more of the cursed herb. She found herself adding extra spoonfuls to her morning glass, driven by an insatiable craving. The black bile episodes subsided, replaced by a different sort of appetite. It started small. One morning, she devoured an entire basket of fresh fruits, mangoes, papayas, pineapples, anything sweet and fleshy. It didn't satisfy her. She moved on to uncooked vegetables, chomping them straight from the fridge. The cravings only intensified. One evening, she caught herself standing in front of the kitchen counter, a slab of raw beef in her hand, about to take a bite. She recoiled in horror, throwing it into the trash. "What's happening to me?" she whispered, tears welling. But the hunger wouldn't be denied. Late at night, she roamed her apartment, rummaging through the refrigerator for something, she didn't even know what. Raw eggs slid down her throat, not quite hitting the spot. 2 days later, her assistant, a young woman named Mimi, came to help her organize brand deliveries. Alma felt uneasy around Mimi's presence. There was an odd throbbing in her temples whenever she looked at the woman. At one point, Mimi excused herself to use the restroom, and Alma blacked out. When she came to, she was standing in the bathroom, hands stained red, a half-formed memory of Mimi's screams echoing in her mind. Panicking, she searched the apartment but found no trace of her assistant, only blood splatters near the bathroom sink. She tried to call Mimi's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. Fear and guilt churned in her stomach. She collapsed onto the couch, shaking. Whatever lurked inside her was far worse than she imagined. And it was hungry for more than fruit and raw meat. Desperate and terrified by her loss of control, Alma returned to Makola Market, determined to find the elusive vendor who had started this nightmare. She wove through the crowds, glancing at every stall in frustration. At last, she saw the vendor's table in the same spot as before, a collection of mirrors glinting under the midday sun. The old vendor was there, face as inscrutable as ever. "You!" Alma hissed, storming toward her. "What did you sell me? It's destroying my life." The vendor simply smiled, eyes glittering with eerie serenity. "I told you, it's for the chosen. I didn't choose this." Alma shouted, voice laced with desperation. "I can't control what's happening to me." Without a word, the vendor picked up a small, handheld mirror and handed it to Alma. "Look," she commanded. Alma peered into the mirror, expecting her usual reflection, albeit worn by stress. Instead, she saw a horrifying sight, a hollowed-out shell of a woman, with skin as perfect as polished ebony, but inside that shell squirmed a monstrous parasite, serpentine tendrils, glowing eyes, pulsating with malevolent energy. Alma let out a strangled cry, nearly dropping the mirror. The vendor grabbed it back, setting it down. "What you see is your true form," the vendor said quietly. "A vessel housing an ancient hunger. You wanted unearthly beauty. Now, it's yours." Tears streamed down Alma's face. "How do I get rid of it?" The vendor's smile vanished, replaced by a sober expression. "It doesn't leave willingly. It's older than any of us. You must either embrace it or find a ritual powerful enough to banish it. But such rituals, they come with a price." Alma's hands trembled at her sides. "Is there no other way?" The vendor sighed. "This is your path. Chosen from birth, tied to your ancestors' sins. If you truly want release, you must meet the god behind the parasite." With that, the vendor turned back to her mirrors, leaving Alma reeling in the bustling chaos of the market, the weight of her shattered reality pressing down on her like a suffocating blanket. At home, Alma found a package waiting at her doorstep from Orate Cosmetics. Inside was a formal proposal. They wanted the exact herbal blend to create a revolutionary beauty supplement. They offered a colossal signing bonus, enough money to ensure she'd never want for anything again. The letter ended with a direct request. "Please mail us a sample of your organic powder immediately. Our team of scientists is eager to begin research." Alma stared at the letter in horror, recalling the mirror's reflection of the parasite. Did Orate Cosmetics realize they were courting something ancient and malevolent? Probably not. They were chasing profit, blind to the consequences. Her phone buzzed, Kweku again. "Alma, this is huge. Send them the powder. They'll test it, mass-produce it. Imagine a global product line with your face on every billboard." I don't know if that's a good idea," Alma stammered. Kweku sighed loudly into the phone. Do you want to be a legend or just another flash-in-the-pan influencer? This is your shot. After hanging up, Alma felt cornered. She had no illusions about how dangerous the powder was. Yet she also knew the hunger inside her had reached an apex. If she refused the parasite, it might devour her from within. And if she accepted, she risked unleashing it upon countless others. Late into the night, she paced her apartment, the mark of Na on her back burning like molten gold. She could feel the parasite's presence in every corner of her mind, whispering, "Accept. Spread me. Let me live." She curled up on the couch, trembling. Was she already too far gone to make a moral choice? Or was there still a shred of humanity left in her to fight the monstrous entity within? 3 days later, Alma received a cryptic text, an address near the outskirts of Accra, followed by a single symbol, the golden spiral. The text read, "Join us for the ceremony. Decide your fate." Feeling she had no other option, Alma went alone. She told Adwoa to stay behind in case things went wrong. She arrived at dusk, the sky a swirl of orange and purple. The address led her to a hidden tunnel beneath an abandoned warehouse. Torchlight flickered along damp walls as she descended into the underground chamber. The musty air smelled of mildew and rotting leaves. In the main chamber, Alma found rows of women standing eerily still, their eyes vacant. Their bodies were pristine, flawless skin, lithe limbs, but they looked like mannequins, devoid of life. In the center stood the vendor from Makola Market. She now wore ornate robes decorated with spirals. Beside her was a small altar, scattered with bones and dried herbs. "Welcome," the vendor intoned, her voice echoing across the chamber. "You are one of the few to survive this far. Others have perished or succumbed." Alma's gaze flicked to the row of vacant-eyed women. "They're hosts, like me," she whispered. "Yes," the vendor confirmed. "But they gave up their minds. They exist in a state of suspended beauty, sustained by the parasite. Dead inside, yet physically perfect." A shudder ran through Alma. "I don't want to end up like them," she said, voice trembling. The vendor's eyes narrowed, as if to show a hint of sympathy. "Then you must complete the ritual. Either choose to host the parasite forever or find someone else to pass it to." Alma felt her throat tighten. It was an unspeakable choice, remain bonded to the ancient entity or condemn another soul to this fate. She looked at the altar and saw a ceremonial knife, glinting in the torchlight. The vendor beckoned her closer. "Decide now, Alma. Time is running out." Alma's heart pounded as she stared at the silent women around her. Was there a way to break the cycle entirely? Or was she doomed to pay for the sins of her ancestors? Before she could make her choice, Alma's phone buzzed, a call from a major TV station in Ghana. They wanted her on a primetime talk show that very night. The plan was already in motion, orchestrated by Kweku. Desperate for any normalcy, Alma agreed to appear, hoping to reveal her side of the story. She barely remembered leaving the underground chamber, her mind spinning with dread. Hours later, she found herself under bright studio lights, cameras pointed in her face, the host flashing a professional grin. The audience waited eagerly. She tried to answer the host's first questions gracefully. But halfway through, she felt an excruciating burn spread across her body. The mark of Na on her back pulsated with molten intensity. Live on television, Alma's skin began to crack in small lines, golden light seeping through. Gasps rippled through the crowd. She doubled over, her voice warping between her own and something inhuman, a guttural, ancient tone that boomed through the microphone. The audience stared, transfixed as if hypnotized. Alma sensed their collective heartbeat, felt the parasite within her reaching out to feed on their awe and fear. She clutched the edges of the desk, nails scraping the wood. Suddenly, a powerful voice cut through the chaos, chanting an ancestral prayer. In the crowd, Adwoa stood up, her face resolute as she repeated words passed down in their family. The old language rang out, offering a glimmer of hope. Alma felt the parasite recoil inside her, shrieking in rage. The golden cracks on her skin flickered, then stopped expanding. She locked eyes with Adwoa, tears streaming down both their faces. In that moment, the camera feed cut to static, the station abruptly ending the broadcast. By the time security reached the stage, Alma had collapsed to her knees. Adwoa rushed to her, chanting prayers, trying to keep the parasite at bay. The stunned crowd slowly broke free from their trance, chaos erupting in the studio. No one knew what they had just witnessed, but whispers of witchcraft and possession spread like wildfire across social media. For weeks, Alma disappeared from the public eye. Rumors circulated wildly: she was in hiding, she was hospitalized, she had died. Some people claimed the entire TV fiasco was a hoax designed to garner attention. Others insisted it was authentic black magic. Then, without warning, Alma re-emerged online. She posted a video to her million-plus followers. Sitting in a warmly lit room, she looked radiant and calm, her skin flawless again, her hair thick and healthy. She smiled softly into the camera. "Hello, everyone. I know many of you have been worried about me. I'm here to tell you that I'm healed. I found a spiritual path that cleansed me of my darkness." She spoke gently, reassuringly, explaining that her meltdown had been due to extreme stress and an undisclosed health condition. The herb, she claimed, was simply a powerful detox supplement that had side effects. In the comments, a wave of relief and celebration erupted. Fans cheered her return, praising her resilience. Brands quickly resumed negotiations. Orate Cosmetics even reignited their interest. Yet, if one looked closely at Alma's eyes, a flicker of something ancient lurked there. Behind her composed expression was a subtle, unsettling undertone, like a cat toying with a trapped mouse. In the final moments of her video, she announced, "To thank all my loyal followers, I'll be sending out free sample packs of this herb to the first 10,000 people who sign up. Let's glow together." A sinister warmth glinted in her gaze. She clicked end recording. Across the globe, people hurried to sign up for Alma's free samples, unaware that they were about to invite an ancient, insatiable parasite into their lives. As the first shipments went out, Alma stood by her window, gazing at the setting sun, feeling the faint pulse of the mark of Na still etched into her soul. She placed a hand on her back, where the spiral once burned. An almost imperceptible smile crossed her lips. The world saw a reborn influencer, but in truth, a monstrous being had found a way to spread its roots further, feeding on humanity's unending thirst for beauty and perfection. And so, the stage was set for a new generation of hosts, each unknowingly part of an ancient line of cursed souls, all thanks to the viral star known as Alma, the one who was told it was organic, but discovered it was something else entirely. The end.